All right, I think it's time, 9:15. Looks like we've got some attendees out there, so looks like we're gonna get started here. Thank you for joining us today. We are very happy to be with you again today to talk about PeopleSoft Managed Services best practices for application support, hosting, testing as a service, and more. We'll say the sub text to this presentation is pretty much everything we do with SpearMC. So we get to talk about a little bit about everything today. But we're really happy to be with you again today, and we'll launch the presentation. So my name is Cameron McClurg. I am a managing director with SpearMC out of the Seattle office. I've been with SpearMC for a little over 2.5 years now. And prior to being with SpearMC, I was actually in your guys' shoes. I was a PeopleSoft customer for many, many years. I worked at some various large organizations. Very long ago, I was a PeopleSoft consultant. But then I worked within your space on the client side for many years, running support implementations, new features, the technology side. Sure did all of that within a few customers, and SpearMC was actually my partner when I in my latest role as director of financial systems here in Seattle at an organization here in Seattle. And SpearMC was my partner. I really liked them, and so I actually just flipped over and joined them. And now I run projects and get to talk to many of you about some of the great things that we're doing with PeopleSoft and all that. So get to do presentations like today. So very happy to be with you. And I'll let Gary introduce himself.
Yeah, hello, I'm Gary Dredikowski, and I'm a director with SpearMC as well. I'm based out of our Pittsburgh office. And similar to Cameron, I started my career in the PeopleSoft world at PeopleSoft. And Cameron and I've had this conversation. I honestly feel like we were in the same boot camp class at PeopleSoft back in 2000, interestingly enough. But so I spent quite a few years in PeopleSoft consulting and then moved over to independent consulting for a few years, and then was at KPMG. And my roles on all these projects have always been implementations, upgrades, starting in PeopleSoft, and then moving more into reporting and analytics. So I did a lot of work with Oracle BI. And then in more recent years, I've got involved with managed services. So at SpearMC, I focus a lot on analytics as well as managed services. So you may see me giving some presentations on Kibana or presentations like this about our various service offerings. And I do a lot with our support organization.
So just a little bit about SpearMC. We have been in the PeopleSoft space since the beginning. Started in 2004, 2005 timeframe. We've been doing this for 15 years. And a few years ago, when many of the other PeopleSoft partners and Oracle partners in the PeopleSoft space decided to really go all in on other areas, we decided we were going to double down and really refocus on PeopleSoft. And there's a reason for that. We liked where Oracle was headed with respect to Applications Unlimited, supporting PeopleSoft and enhancing PeopleSoft. We feel that moving PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure can really extend the life and really not just in a sustaining mode, but really in a model that really adds a lot of value, where organizations can still license the software and keep their costs low from an ongoing perspective, but also leverage the best parts of cloud infrastructure. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So we're doing that. We're doing hosting for people. We help them move to the cloud. If they're not quite ready for that, we're there supporting them on-prem. We'll be talking about some of the stuff we do around managed services. but really all things PeopleSoft, whether it's new implementations, the technical side, training, PUM updates, PTF and test automation, which we're going to talk about more today as well. We do all of that. We're certified. We're specialized in PeopleSoft, which is the new model. They don't do the platinum partnership, although we were a platinum partner as well. All of that has been transitioned, but really PeopleSoft is really our main focus. While we do stuff in the Hyperion EPM space a little bit too, it's really not the main part of our business. PeopleSoft is really our core. We're very happy to be one of the few organizations that are still actually focused on that. We've been expanding across the United States. So as I mentioned, started in San Francisco in 2004. We do have offices all over the country, although this slide, I was joking, this slide isn't really that important in the COVID world, because we're all actually, we should have a million dots where everybody lives, because that's really where we are. And we support our customers, obviously, virtually at this point, mostly. Our latest office, although what we do have offices, and we did open a recent office in 2019 in Pittsburgh, and that's where Gary is working out of. So I wanted to highlight some of the presentations that we're doing at Reconnect. As you can see, we've got 7 presentations. We're about midway through that list of presentations. If you didn't hear the sessions yesterday about Kibana and chatbots, go definitely check them out. Really cool, some of the new emerging technology we're very excited about, and we were able to present on that. Really, the fact that we've got 7 presentations here at Reconnect really is a reflection and a recognition of what we're doing on the left side. We are really thought leaders in this space, and we're very happy and pleased to be recognized as that, and to get seven presentations here at Reconnect. I don't think any of the other partners have anywhere close to that, so we're very pleased about that, and we work very closely with Quest to support through ongoing presentations throughout the year and that sort of thing. But here are the sessions we're doing. Definitely check out some of the sessions we've got coming up here later today and tomorrow. So let's get into this. So today, what are we talking about today? So we're really talking about what does it look like to provide managed services, kind of the best practices around that. And obviously we do it as well, but we want to provide you some thoughts on how you can do it well for yourself as well. And so we're really talking to any real PeopleSoft customer, whether you're a functional or a technical person. We want to talking to you. If you're within an organization and you're part of the support mechanism for your organization, this session is really for you. So we're going to be talking about a few things today. The first part is really the concepts around the best practice design for how you design your application so that you can minimize your support function. And we'll talk about that. And then we're going to go through things like the PTF and how you leverage PTF. We'll talk about infrastructure. We'll take a look at some of the automated testing, and then finish up with a few of our case studies. So looking at some of the design elements within an application, within the application support area, really the question you need to ask is not how do you answer people's support needs better, but how do you, first minimize those support needs? And I break it down into really 3 areas. Intuitive design, providing self-service help, and then leveraging emerging technology. So let's take a look at each one of these things. So first, with intuitive design, really the thought here is a lot of organizations consider themselves quite complex, and they consider themselves, they have a lot of unique requirements. We get it. But as much as you can do to minimize the complexity and eliminate special requirements, creating streamlined processes that are similar to other organizations, this will help you in a number of ways, but primarily to get yourself aligned with kind of the best processes within PeopleSoft. And so really we focus on first eliminating and minimizing the complexity. Second, leveraging the latest features, and these are something called page and field configurator is one of the features that you can leverage that can still tailor the application to your organization without actually customizing, and that's key. And you don't have to completely get rid of anything. You don't have to go completely vanilla, completely out of the box, but you can modify the user experience through some of these tools like Page and Field Configurator and still be update safe. You can still do it in a way that doesn't create technical debt for you in the future. So we'll talk about that, and we'll show that here in a second. Lastly, from design principle perspective, everybody has offline processes, offline forms, Excel documents, Word documents, PDFs. All of these processes that are offline create a whole infrastructure that exists outside of PeopleSoft. And when you have those things, it requires people, it requires training on how to use these offline forms, and ultimately, it's a pretty sort of legacy way of looking at this stuff, which doesn't allow you to do things like validation and provide self-service to your customers. And we'll again talk through that a little bit more. So first, let's kind of focus on Page and Field Configurator. Here's an example of Page and Field Configurator. So right now I'm looking at a project activity page, and this page is a little busy. It's got some fields for activity type, system source, activity owner, percent complete, etc. But when I look at this, and for my organization, let's say, I want to do a couple things. I want to make some fields required because PeopleSoft doesn't make them required. I want them to be required. So when people come to this page, I want them to have to enter some values. I want the default values because perhaps maybe there's a reason that for the most part, system source is always one value. And maybe for activity owner, we don't really call it activity owner, we call it something else. So I want to handle all those things without customizing this page. So here you can see the before, and afterwards you can see that coming in here using Page and Field Configurator, I can default in a value for system source, and I can change that activity owner label to be a responsible party. Maybe for my organization, that's how we look at it. And so that is a very simple example of how we can change the look and feel of this page and the labels without actually customizing. Traditionally, this would be a customization. In the new world, this is just configuration and is completely update safe. When we go and update to the next image, this all will come through, no problem, no technical debt. The other thing we do with Page and Field Configurator is we can actually clean up these pages by eliminating and removing fields that we don't use. And we all know pages in PeopleSoft that are very busy, and it supports lots of different use cases. But for our use case, we only use some of the fields. You can do that with Page and Field Configurator as well. We talked about sort of the offline process. Here we've got a form that we built just as an example. We did this for a training, but this is a tuition reimbursement. And so if you think about reimbursements, you have reimbursements in sort of all areas of your organization, whether you're a higher ed or a for-profit organization or public sector. Everybody has reimbursements. So this is just one simple example of how you can take that offline form that exists perhaps in Excel or Word or PDF. You can take that and you can build a form right in PeopleSoft. And the great thing about that is bringing it into PeopleSoft. First of all, you're bringing it onto one platform, right? They're already doing self-service perhaps in one, in PeopleSoft. So you can bring a form into that mode where they're getting that self-service. The really great thing, in addition to the platform, is you can do things like data validation. So for example, here you can see at the bottom here this cost information. So you got a department, you got some more information. That department can be pre-validated. So for example, let's say this person is authorized to submit a reimbursement for this department, but not this other department. You can pre-validate that so that the user themselves won't be able to submit something to the support organization like an AP organization until it's already pre-validated. Not only the data validation, but you can also then submit this for approval. So again, the AP organization doesn't actually take action until the data is valid and the transaction is approved. That's a significant improvement over the current over many current processes where all that validation has to happen with an AP. That validation equals time. Time equals money, right? With respect to how much you have to think about your labor costs related to these support organizations. So leveraging technology to bring offline processes into PeopleSoft using, this is called forms and approval, will decrease the labor costs that you will have for some of these support organizations. So again, intuitive design, bringing those offline processes in, and really leveraging the system. So if we think about, self-help and the ability to provide sort of self-help for people, there's an inverse relationship between the help that you provide to people through an automated fashion and the support costs. If you do less of the self-help support stuff, your support costs, in terms of time, tickets, etc., will go up. So one of the things we're doing for organizations that we work with the managed services is we provide a lot of self-help for them so that they can actually answer their own questions. Ultimately, that's the way when users want help, they want it real time, they want it specific and contextual to what they're looking for. And we've offered some great tools for how to do this with some of the things we're doing around our training. In fact, I think we have a little bit in here on that. So bottom line is you can lower those needs. Okay, so here's a couple examples, and this is actually just delivered. But you can see here on PeopleSoft screen the concept of related content. This is a feature that's really underutilized. It's actually delivered, and you can enhance it. You can add more to this. But here, if you see, you got this button for related content, and by clicking on that, you can get more information related to that transaction. Here you can see related actions. So here I'm entering some time, and you have some delivered related actions. But it's very easy to add to this. For example, some help information. What do I do here? What are our policies around team or time entry? You can add that into related actions, and by putting contextual help information embedded into this, you provide that help, and that actually minimizes your support needs. Here's something we're doing around our self-help training. We leverage a tool called Captivate, which allows us to capture some of the training elements and videos. And here's something that we built for one of our customers, and we're rolling out to some of our other customers. So we've got this learning tile. If you click on that, it takes you into a pre-built navigation collection, actually, if you're familiar with those, that provide you some self-help or some ability to see how to do these things. If you click on one of these things, it's actually going to take you in and show you how to do a transaction. So here, if you want to start this this video, we'll kind of walk through it. So as you can see, a user comes in here, they click on that navigation collection, and you've got this nice pop-up that's telling you, walking you through how you create an expense transaction. So in this case, it's the travel authorization that they're looking for. They're copying that travel authorization into an expense report. All of it has these nice pop-ups that tell you exactly how to do the work. Now, again, we built this in Captivate, and we have this sort of that we can provide to our other customers. But really, that can be contextualized for your organization and something that we can tailor for your organization. Of course, you can go and build your own as well. But the concept here is providing that nice self-help that's automated, right? You don't require a person now in your organization to walk people through all this stuff. You can have that person. That's great to have as a backstop, right? But having this automated sort of embedded self-help right in PeopleSoft allows you to actually minimize the actual support requests and tickets that come into that support organization. So you can see that that person walking through all of it and can actually show exactly how to do it. So I think that's it for the video. So we'll move on to the next slide now. The last thing I'll talk about here with respect to design and minimize your support needs is around emerging technology. PeopleSoft and Oracle is providing much more with respect to emerging technology. We had a great session yesterday on Kibana and how that will provide a lot of analytics related to your your business processes and all the metrics and analytics around it. We also did a chatbot session yesterday, and if you didn't see it, go check it out if you want to learn more about chatbots. Bottom line is, chatbots might seem gimmicky to you. I get it, because I was kind of there as myself. They seem kind of gimmicky. What's the big deal about chatbots? The big deal about chatbots is that it takes those internal organizations that exist to support and answer questions for people, and it automates that in a way that can allow your end users not to learn a system. They use their natural language to get their help. And we've all experienced bad chatbots, whether it's on your bank website or whatever. You can go in there and be like, I'm not going to that because it never answers my question. Well, in this case, in PeopleSoft, there's a pretty set amount of information that people are going to come and ask repetitive questions. What's my vacation balance? Where's my requisition? When is that requisition? When's that shipment going to arrive? Tell me who reports to who in terms of HR. Who's the manager of this person? These are preset functions that are now being delivered to you from Oracle as a chatbot. And if you think about these things as a way to minimize those support requests or minimize the needs internally for a person to answer those repetitive questions, then you really can leverage technology to then minimize those support needs. So it's a really great way to consider and to leverage emerging technology. Again, with a whole presentation yesterday on chatbots, you go check it out. I go into the details about how you can tailor them and make them very specific to your organization. So anyway, emerging technology is the last way that you can do this. And I think that's the last slide in this section. So I'm gonna hand over to Gary to talk through about best practices around creating a service desk itself.
Sure, thanks, Cameron. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about now is the PeopleSoft service desk. And what this really focuses on is how can you get the most out of your service desk, and what's the best ways to set that up? So by starting, you want to establish a centralized platform for issue management. Back in the day, you were probably using Excel, or maybe you still are using Excel to track all of your issues. You want to find a technology where you can capture the information, you can then search that information, you can get updates, you can get reports. Second thing you really need to do is focus on your communications protocol and schedule. So once you have all the information about your tickets, how do you actually get that out to your users? How do people follow up? How do they know when there's updates to the issue and where it actually falls in the whole track? So the status, right? Is this still in development? Is this being tested? When is this being released to production? The third thing that comes up quite a bit is processing and prioritizing work, the process for prioritizing work, I should say. And what I'm referring to there is you may have an SLA at the beginning of when a ticket comes in. Production is down. It's a critical issue, right? So in the first hour, you're getting that resolved. But maybe once that's resolved, what happens after that? Was that issue the result of an underlying fundamental issue? So if it was, is that something that happens all the time? Is that still a critical? Maybe not, but it is something that you need to address, and it becomes a high priority. So you need to really come up with the process to determine those SLAs, and then also how do you adjust once you get your initial problem addressed. And then the last part is the knowledge base. So you have a lot of information in your service desk software. How do you get that information out? A lot of our clients, we're doing tier 2 and tier 3 support, but we allow our clients tier 1, or if we have, say, tier 3 support, we're letting them access our software so that they can view all the notes and the changes that we've made, and that provides a knowledge base for them. So all the information you're collecting, make sure that everybody in the organization has access to that. So when you select a service desk software, you really want to look at 5 main areas. One is the cost, and that's really, what are the licensing fees? Is there a way for customers to get to this without having to pay licenses? Or if you are paying licenses, is that just a small amount, or does everybody have the same? Second, is it easy to set up? What is the process to get this up and running? Can you make changes to it? Is it easy to use? Scalability. So maybe in our instance, we want to be able to scale up multiple projects with similar configurations. Can we reuse those workflows? Third, actually the next one, fourth, is time tracking. So if you want to know how much time is being spent on tickets, how does that get associated? Is there a way to actually put all of your hours in tied to a person, to a ticket, to an activity? And then the last part of that is integration, and what products can be integrated with your service desk platform. Are there APIs? We have a lot of customers that have a tier 1 service desk, and from their system, we've built APIs to just transfer the ticket from, say, Sharewell into Jira Service Desk, which is what we use. So we use Jira Service Desk, and it works out great because if I go back to the integrated platform, Jira has obviously APIs available. You can go and integrate various data sources, but they also have other products like Confluence or Jira software that allow you to report information and really share information between those various products. So that was the reason why we chose Jira. Literally, it was cost effective for what we're doing. The simple setup, we probably spent a few weeks or a month getting our initial layout set up, but it wasn't something that we spent, months implementing. What I'm going to do now is show you the blue screen of death. No, what this is a video, and this is a little bit about our Jira. So this is the Jira portal that customers would see. It's pretty simple. This is all just configuration where you go in, set up what you want to be available. So a customer could come in, click on the production support, and then fill out their details of what they're having the issue with. You're able to set up in that pillar drop down, and actually I'll show that on the next one in the help desk agent view. So once the issue, let me pause that for a second. Once the issue is set up, this is the help desk agent view. And in here, this is where once a ticket's been assigned to me, I would go in and view this. So all this information here really is what came in from that front form that we just saw. So as I click down through here, you see the pillar, and you'll be able to select which one, and then the various modules or what it's related to. Sometimes it could just be security or people tools, and the target need by date. Then over here, this is our workflow, and this is what each ticket goes through. So a ticket comes in. Right now, this one is in Analyze. But when it comes into New, and then from there, you could go to Analyze, or you could maybe go to Develop. And Analyze also will come down to Develop. But once something's in development, the next step is going to be to go down to Testing. So once testing is approved, that process, then there will be the pending migration. So we maybe had some documentation we had to fill out. Then once our admin make that change in production, it's ready for sign off, and then it can finally be marked as complete. This was all something that we set up, and it works well for the way we're managing our tickets. This is not, there are delivered workflows that maybe simplify this or use some standard terminology. This is the terminology that we settled on because it worked well for the way we run our business and the way we actually have multiple folks along the way that are from different groups or organizations. So the requirement really was the pending migration. Everything for the pending migration part of it, we may maybe only migrate once a week or once a month. So as issues go into that state, they may sit there for a little while, but maybe if it's an emergency fix, it's going to only be there for a very short period of time. The next thing I wanted to cover on is the ability to track time. So every ticket that is open, you can go in and add the time that is spent there, and you can put that to the particular day. And then you can even put additional details down in the ticket that shows, just some supporting words. If you're going to look at this later and see, oh, well, what were they working on? Why did we do so many hours there? Or it's just good information to have so that if anyone asks any questions, everything is documented. And that's the end of that. The next one is the customer portal. So, sorry, that went twice. The next slide I want to talk about is the real-time support metrics and dashboard. So one of the things you want to do is be able to report on what is going on in your system. Have you, like, how many open issues, how many tickets do you have? That's kind of a simple thing right here, but over here, it really gives you that breakdown. So what type of information is important to your organization? That's what you're going to really build each one of these custom visualizations on a dashboard. So this is going to be another demo here. This is the dashboard that was on the previous slide. And like, this is a high level dashboard just showing the individual tickets that are open. These are what's been created. And when you look through these, you will see that, this shows, I thought that highlighted there when it clicked, sorry. That was a breakdown to closed versus open. Over here on the chart, this pie chart shows the percentage of the tickets that are open and what they're tied to. So 20% is other, the 35% was payroll for North America. And this ties down to this word pillar word cloud that's down below, right? So each one of these are what we call pillar, our FSCM, payroll, et cetera. As you can see here, HCM payroll for North America is very large, the words. That's the way the word cloud visualization works. That correlates exactly to the graph that was up here. So I was just really showing two different ways that we can display similar information, right? So 36, that's obviously the highest one up there as well. Created versus resolved, just very similar again to the one that was up here on the right, but showing the graph with over each week, how many open items were created, how many were resolved. The workload pie chart, that just shows that the majority of our issues are break fix issues. And you know what, probably 80, 90% of that. Resolution time, spread over time. The open SRs, this is one that I created really based on a filter for all tickets that we have in SR with Oracle, because a lot of times we see things that are open extra, and those are typically Oracle tickets. This last chart is something I just added yesterday, but it was interesting, and it shows the correlation of your open issues. So if you click on it, you can see how many days something was open and the number of comments, etc. I haven't used that much, but I thought it was good there to show just a lot of different delivered visualizations available within Kibana that can be used. So I'll probably start using that a little bit more, especially when I'll figure out how to filter that a little differently. But nice visualizations delivered with Kibana.
All right, Gary, before we move on, there was a question that came in, so might as well just answer right now, which is, how do you track time between support and development? I know you talked about the flow of tickets. Do you want to kind of touch on that real quick?
Yeah, so, sorry, I think one of the things, I can actually go right into here. Let me just pause this here. I had a feeling I clicked through something when that was going. Anyway, so the request type, whenever the tickets get created, there's a request type, and we have production support, or there could be break fix, or so there's various request types. I'm not live in the system, so I can't click down here. But between the request type and the issue type, which are terms within Jira, that's how we've determined that breakdown. And really, it goes back to here. So production support would have been a break fix, and strategic managed services here may have been more just support.
Okay.
Sorry. Yep. But I'm going to go. Like I said, I didn't mean to click out of this too quickly before.
I think we can probably move on, Gary.
Okay. The one thing I wanted to mention that was in here was our status reporting, though. We do our status reporting directly out of Jira in Jira queues. So it's great because we can do real-time updates directly in Jira that get reflected in the status meetings. And then with the integrated product, you can also do that with Confluence. But I'll pass it back to you, Cameron, for the best practices with infrastructure.
Great. So I wanted to talk about this. I think the question you might be thinking about, well, what does infrastructure have to do with support, best practices with support? And it's a good question. Well, the reason that it's important to know about is that PeopleSoft Cloud Manager really automates and really makes the lifecycle management of your systems very efficient. Our Cloud Shift program is helping people from soup to nuts. So really with needs analysis, planning, sizing, and pricing, to actually doing the lift and shift to OCI. If needed, we'll do that as a hosting provider to them, where they don't have to worry about infrastructure management and all that kind of stuff. Again, that type of thing reduces your support costs with respect to managing the PeopleSoft stack on-prem, or even if it's another cloud provider. So we will do that for our customers. But really the real secret sauce here is PeopleSoft Cloud Manager, which really automates the life cycle and helps you manage your instances, replicating, creating new environments, and then also managing costs, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. So let's take a look at a couple things that we can do with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So with respect to managing your PeopleSoft instances, any server in PeopleSoft or in your PeopleSoft stack can both be scaled up from that individual server, increasing in terms of RAM, CPU, et cetera. There's monitoring tools built into OCI that manage and watch for overutilization CPU, and you can scale that up. You can say, I want to make that server more robust, and that increased capacity will then increase the performance of online transactions for your users, which we know will then reduce the support needs. So by scaling up, you can do it. The other thing is horizontal scaling. So what that does is we can, in an automated way, can add extra servers. So maybe that's a web server, application server, even process scheduler. So those can be scaled horizontally by adding additional servers. And this handles things like load balancing. No longer do you have to buy an F5 on-prem and to handle load balancing. Load balancing is just baked in as a feature into Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. By managing your performance through the scaling, you actually can then reduce the amount of support requests coming in, because people are complaining about the performance and saying, I can't get my work done. Can you do this? Can you do that? The scaling that's baked into OCI basically empowers you to scale in an automated way and really meet those needs before they even rise in terms of support tickets. So let's take a look at a couple more examples here. So if we think about downtimes, so go ahead and click through here. So downtime might have sort of a set of servers that traditionally are used. So you have a kind of a web stack. You've got your process scheduler, app server. This is the kind of a normal footprint for PeopleSoft. But you notice we have a load balancer on top of it as well. And I know it's a little bit technical, but stay with me here. Let's say at month end we want a little bit extra horsepower, and so we actually can, through automated fashion, we can add additional process scheduler and add additional application server that will provide extra horsepower during month end when you have more users. Well, let's say you have month end, as well as more users need to get on because for some reason there's a time frame that kind of is a perfect storm of needs in terms of horsepower. You can actually add additional web servers to handle the load balancing of the traffic. So all of this can be automated with automatic and scaling. In this case, you can see the concept of horizontal scaling, adding additional servers. But by doing this through OCI, again, you can actually be more responsive to the needs. And by doing it this way, without actually building it from start, let's say on the right side, you just start with that stack. Well, what that's going to do is that's going to raise your costs of your Oracle Cloud infrastructure and your infrastructure costs in a way that on-prem you don't necessarily need to worry about, but on moving to cloud, you do. And you don't want to have this really, really large capacity stack when you don't necessarily need it at all times. So the ability to then scale up and then scale back down is unique on cloud infrastructure and allows you to then manage your costs. So this is a traditional build, and I get it that it's very complex. So I don't get too hung up on all the different pieces on the right. What I want to point out is the concept of smart redundancy. On-prem, and we see it also in the cloud as well sometimes when people architect on the cloud, is that people want to build redundancy automatically built in. Now, with respect to disaster recovery, you don't necessarily need that. A lot of times with PeopleSoft, it's not a live system, a revenue generating system. It's just a back office system. So by creating a DR stack that you can see on this right side and keeping it in standby, which means you're keeping it down, you actually can reduce those costs. So you don't have to keep that up while you're just being charged for that infrastructure 24/7. You can keep it offline, but using essentially synchronization technology on the Oracle stack, you can keep your database constantly updated so that you can bring it back up at moment's notice. This is not necessarily high availability, but you can do high availability as well by keeping that stack completely online at all times. We traditionally find with most of our customers, they don't need necessarily high availability. They just want to know that if the system goes down for some reason, there's a physical disaster in the region or whatever, they can hop over to this other region and be up and running very quickly. And Oracle Cloud Infrastructure allows you to do that in a way that, again, big picture here is going to reduce your support costs. Now, the other thing that happens here with PeopleSoft Cloud Manager is that you can actually do things like turn on and off, let's say, a test stack. Let's say you have a test stack that has a test database, maybe a development database, but you create a second stack that has a second region. Maybe you're doing some testing for a big rollout. Maybe you're doing a get current exercise and you need a new test environment. You need a new PUM environment that lets you look at some of the recent features. You can scale that up, build that up as a secondary stack. PeopleSoft Cloud Manager can automate that process to create that secondary stack. And then what you can do is you can create scripting that manages the turning on and off of that secondary stack. Do you need a development environment up 24/7? Probably not. Do you need a secondary test stack up 24/7? Probably not. So by doing scripting, you can essentially take that from 24 hours a day down to 8 or 10 hours a day. That can result in some kind of 60% reduction in your costs of this individual infrastructure stack. PeopleSoft Cloud Manager does this for you. In fact, they just rolled this out, this feature this summer that allows you to manage the turning off of the backend infrastructure through Cloud Manager. That came out just this summer, and we're really excited about it because it really is a game changer in terms of being able to control and minimize your costs on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And I'm going to turn it back to Gary. I'd love to talk to you for a full hour about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, but I'm going to turn it back to Gary to talk about automated testing.
Sure. Yeah, and we have about 15 minutes left. So I'm going to cover automated testing pretty quickly so we can jump into our case studies as well. So PeopleSoft Test Framework. I'm sure all of you have heard of PeopleSoft Test Framework. This is really, how you manually replace testing with automation so that you can get through unit testing, integration testing, regression testing with less effort. This is a service that SpearMC offers, but you don't necessarily have to have SpearMC's testing as a service offering, but you can truly offload a large percentage of your testing by taking on that service. But the framework itself is available through PeopleSoft. So for a PTF implementation, really what you're looking at, you create your test plans, then just follow it around. Prepare the environments, you update the scripts, you create the shell tests, then you execute them, and you also can review, and you just keep following this around through each of your cycles. These tests can be passed in between the various environments, and really the one thing I didn't talk about was the starting point. So SpearMC, we have a lot of tests already developed, so we would bring those to the table as part of the testing as a service, and that's something that you would continue to build upon as each one of these PUMs come out. The testing scripts get enhanced to do the additional test and new functionality that you may want to look at, and then also your regression testing for what you currently do. The last thing we want to go over today are our case studies. So the first case study that I want to talk about is Parkview Health. This is a customer that we took over their support about a year ago, and they had been working with a previous vendor for several years, and they were kind of put it out to bid, and we came to them with sort of this fresh approach of how we look at support, right? And talked a lot about all of the things that Cameron and I spoke about earlier, using the Jira Service Desk, looking to eliminate customizations, and some of that was through what we talked about, page and field configurator, as well as just looking at their processes, right? And then how do we enable their team to take on additional responsibility from a support perspective? And some of that was providing them the knowledge transfer or the training, giving some of the additional inline type of support features that we highlighted. And we literally doing more than just support, though. As I said, the previous slide, testing as a service, we're doing that. We set up their PeopleSoft test framework. We have them set up with some OCI tenancy, and then we've added some additional projects like our segregation of duties, a grants reimplementation, and e-performance notification framework. So a lot of work going on here. So the initial thing we were doing was taking over application support, and we were looking to reduce support costs per hour. And how do we do that? We started with understanding, their processes and the way they do it. So we have this mixed team. We have leads and then individual specialists. So the leads really manage all the work, and then our individual developers and analysts then troubleshoot and get to the root cause. But the leads really focus on making sure that all the clients the functionality that they're looking for or whatever is broken is available. But then those leads also spend a lot of time understanding the root cause. So we're not always just addressing issues from a technical perspective, right? So if something comes up and we realize that there was just a better way to do it, or maybe there's delivered functionality that they hadn't rolled out, right? Those are the type of things that from a overall cost perspective, over time, cost of ownership will go down because you eliminate the customizations. And just the work that we've done in our overall contract, we were able to reduce their support costs by 15%. The second thing that we did is we're leveraging the data that has been provided. So earlier in my demonstration, you probably saw a lot of these different graphs, right? So the one I'm really pointing to are the two that highlighted the fact that we have a ton of issues in payroll. We have a ton of issues open well, actually the other one doesn't count, but we had some technical issues as well. You see people, tools, and technology, and we saw security here. We had quite a few issues open. So what we did there, we realized, hey, why don't we just train a few of their folks to handle these security issues? And those numbers have gone down. I mean, we hardly see any security changes anymore. From the people, tools, and technology perspective, this information helped us to address the need to really go through a people tools upgrade. So by providing management, hey, we see whatever the number was, like 20 issues open per month related specifically to technology, we can see that if you upgrade to the latest people tools version, a lot of these issues will be addressed. So then the last thing we did, all the information, we create this roadmap, which I show right here. And we look at all the various projects that are going on and then figure out how do we slot all of these items in to eliminate, these recurring issues. And we saw a few issues with grants, so we were doing this grants re-implementation. So just helping the customer really define their scope for the next year. But as a general rule, what we've seen here, it's been about a 20% reduction in new and recurring issues based on when we started with them to where we are today. The next case study, I'm actually going to have Cameron speak about this. It's First Financial Northwest Bank.
Yeah, and you touched on something. I'll just repeat, which is that we've had multiple customers talk to us about from a managed service perspective about the fact that their previous partner has encouraged them to not go upgrade, to stay on an older people tools. And it's mind-boggling to me because it's so antithetical to the way we approach things. We want you to take advantage of the latest and greatest functionality and technology from Oracle. You're spending money on that. You're spending your maintenance dollars to Oracle on all of that. We want you to take advantage of it. The idea that you would want to hold yourself back and not take advantage of the latest and greatest stuff is I don't even actually understand why that would even be a conversation. If you're in a situation that that your support organization, either internal or if you have a managed service partner that's trying to hold you back, please talk to us. We don't want that to be your paradigm. We actually go completely differently. So last one we're going to talk about, and we're going to end the presentation here, is the First Financial Northwest Bank. So they were previously on a different non-PeopleSoft application. They were on an actual financial accounting system that was a SaaS system. And it was really all the bad things that you can think about with SaaS. They had no control over it. They had no access to the data. They couldn't control the timing of changes that were affecting their system. Security was really poor. And they just said, enough of this. We got to get off of this system. We want something that's robust. Well, they found, obviously, PeopleSoft. And with coming to us, we did a bid for them, and they liked it. And we said, look, let's get you up and running on PeopleSoft on the cloud so that you guys don't have to do anything with respect to your own servers. They didn't have servers. They didn't want servers. They had no IT infrastructure from a personnel perspective that was going to support PeopleSoft. And they really didn't want to do any of that stuff. They said, we just want to be users of the system, and we want it to stay current. We want to get value out of the system. And so we implemented that for them. We have a hosting model for them where we actually manage PeopleSoft on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for them. We do all those things that we talked about in terms of infrastructure management, scaling, monitoring, all that stuff for them. And we can now really leverage all of that from OCI. And we've now got this, secure system for them. We've got robust disaster recovery. We can scale, and we've got obviously the patching and maintenance with People Tools patching. We're keeping them current on the functional images. We're being able to roll out new functionality. And really, from that perspective, if you think of yourself as the customer here, it's really like a SaaS. It's all the great part of SaaS, meaning you have no on-prem servers, you've got no significant IT personnel needing to support this, but you also get to control when and how you take in new features. And so really it's best of both worlds, from a traditional management of a robust ERP, but also the great parts of the cloud infrastructure and managing and getting all the new features that are coming out from PeopleSoft. So really, just we'll end with this, is that we offer this complete managed services for First Financial Northwest Bank and our other customers. 24/7 support. We provide technical services, functional support, report writing, new features. We do all of that for our customers. I think we're pretty much out of time. So we'll just kind of conclude and say, we do a little bit of everything with PeopleSoft. This presentation is really been about managed services and how we do managed services. You can do managed services well if you take these concepts and run with them and build them into your support organization within your organization. But certainly, if you want to talk to us, we can offer some advice on how you can do this well. We can offer you kind of a vision for how we might be able to do it for you. Of course, that's where what we're in the business of doing, of course. But we can also just kind of walk you through and kind of expand on some of these concepts about what you guys can do for your organization as well. Appreciate the time we've had with you today. We don't have any questions right now. If you do have any questions, we have a few minutes here to end our time, and just jump over the Q&A tab and feel free to enter any questions. Happy to chat through any of the details you've heard today. Gary, any closing thoughts from you?
No, I think, I'd love to hear any questions or talk a little bit more about the concepts that we provided. And so, please reach out. Our contact information is there.
All right. Well, I think if there are no questions, and like we said, you can ask questions to us at any time offline, but we'll go ahead and end this session now and give you a couple minutes back. Thank you for everybody for your time today. Appreciate getting a chance to talk to you and tell you a little bit about what we're doing for our customers. And hope that you learned a couple things about what you can implement with your organization as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.